All right, music fans, welcome back. It is Dave, the Real Music Observer, observing real music in real time for real people, just like you right there, and yours truly, me, right here. Dennis DeYoung versus Tommy Shaw, as far as the folks that they decided to surround themselves with after going their separate ways years ago. It was interesting because I think back to when Styx reformed briefly in the early 1990s with Glenn Burtnick, the New Jersey-based singer-songwriter who had a whole bunch of great music in the late 80s that only a few rock stations like mine actually paid attention to. Glenn just had a great songwriting skill, and he also sang and played very well. And he became sort of the Tommy Shaw replacement. By the way, JY was in that, which is really strange considering that he pretty much let Dennis take the reins. I mean, this was even more of a Dennis DeYoung thing than it was prior. And you have to wonder why JY went along with that, since we hear later on how Dennis was such a maniacal dictator and leader. But we fast forward to the second time where Styx basically said bye to Dennis DeYoung, and there was legal stuff, and Dennis got to say, you know, the music of Styx, blah, blah, blah. I think Styx, again, should have to say playing the music of Dennis DeYoung, but they didn't have to do that. And Dennis went off and created this amazing band with this guy, August Zadra, who is just such a dead ringer for Tommy Shaw. And if you look at Dennis's band, I don't know everybody by name except Suzanne DeYoung, who's also up on stage, which I think is cool since she pretty much inspired most of the very big Styx songs, Babe and Lady being two that I think of right off the top of my head. And who knows how many other tracks were inspired by Suzanne DeYoung. So she's on stage, and this guy, August, is on stage, and you've got to see August play guitar and sing, because it's kind of like Tommy Shaw from 1990 or so. It's really amazing to watch him play and sing. And on the other side, though, you've got Styx, who hired this guy, and everybody knows where I'm going with this, by the name of Lawrence Gowan. Now, okay, let's say this, okay? Gowan knows how to sing. He knows how to play keyboards. He knows how to spin some keyboards. And, you know, he's very entertaining to watch. He's not my cup of tea, both vocally and entertainment-wise, but I'm not saying he can't hold a note or sing a tune. He certainly can, but look at it this way. Does August Zadra kind of sound like Tommy Shaw? Yes. Does Lawrence Gowan sound anything like Dennis DeYoung? No. And if you tell me yes, you're being intellectually dishonest, all right? And I have a difficulty with someone who says, well, I like Lawrence's voice. Yeah, but does it sound like Styx? Does it sound like Dennis? Well, no, but I like, okay. That's all I need to know. Now, if you say he does kind of sound like Dennis, or he can sing in the same key or hold the same note the same way, or maybe he's got some of the inflection, or he's got some of the phrasing down, well, that's a given. If you're going to start to sing someone else's material, you better learn how they sang that material when they composed and then arranged and then sang the tune live, okay? So if I'm looking at both of these guys, Dennis and Tommy, I'm looking at the way they hired people for their respective Styx bands, because Dennis, I think his band is just as viable, just as good, and musically speaking, I think in some ways they might be better than what Styx is putting out there right now. But Styx has the name, and the name means, you know, a big summer tour with other bands. The name allows you to do things that Dennis can't do being a solo artist. So it's fairly interesting, and I would recommend watching the Dennis DeYoung live performance. It's up on YouTube. He's out in LA, I believe, from 2014, and it is just a spot-on, perfect Styx show, very entertaining, as Dennis, being the ultimate showman, just by showing up and talking to the fans, I think, wins, okay? And that's why Dennis, I'm hoping and praying that all this Roboto stuff and everything else will finally get these other guys to say, well, let's just do one more tour with Dennis, because the fans want it on both sides. I mean, even the people that have gone over to the Styx side have to admit, and most of the time they do, that yeah, Dennis is pretty important. You know, we don't like Dennis, we don't like his personality, we don't like the softer side of Styx and so forth, but we have to admit that Dennis was kind of the architect of pretty much everything. With Tommy, Dennis is much more, again, gracious and humble, saying that everybody got involved and did a great job, and that's true. You know, when these records were being produced and put together, everybody made contributions, but I think Dennis's leadership is what drove Styx to become, you know, the band that probably should be in the Rock Hall of Fame. All right, I'm Dave. Little housekeeping here. I got these shirts finally, and if you're still watching this video, you get to see. There I am. It's pretty scary. It's pretty good likeness, especially since we do the half screen here, and you know, I do the pointing finger. Although I noticed that the finger is glowing. It's glowing. It's kind of like E.T. So maybe, you know, you wear the shirt and people start making phone calls because they'll be phoning home. The back of it is kind of cool. It does get the catchphrase pretty well. For real people would probably be more accurate, but sometimes I do variation. So it's a front and back t-shirt, which is kind of cool. It does say RMO, Real Music Observer, and then again you get it on the back, and people at that point will probably be upset with you that you have one of these shirts. Now, not sure how I'm going to sell this shirt yet, and what the price will be. If you send me messages over on my Facebook page and even Twitter, maybe private message, I will try to get back to you and see what I'm going to do about the shirts. But they'll be about the same cost as going to a concert. I am my own delivery boy as far as mailing the shirts out and packaging and doing the actual postage and handling part. So yes, and I'm wearing one. I'm probably not going to walk around with a shirt on with a picture of me on it. I just did it for this video. I'd rather have you guys have the shirts. So we'll figure that out. Again, thanks for supporting the channel. Anything I make from these shirts go right back into the channel and my own personal, you know, I guess, existence here. So again, I appreciate everybody who helps, and I will talk again soon. See you then. Don't forget, check me out over on Facebook and Twitter. See you then.